usually about. And we bring this in. Okay, so we got that vented. That 1/4 inch line that goes right on here at this fitting. This is your equalizer on the valve. Same thing. Just always support the nut on the valve so you don't break. That's tight. Alright. Just be careful when you're moving this around because it's just a small copper line, so it breaks very easily. Well, we got everything kind of set here. Make sure the cover will go. Okay. Now on this one we have our liquid line solenoid. You know, sometimes I put it inside here. Sometimes I put it outside. Today on this one I'm going to put it outdoors. And you got to look at the valve. There's an arrow pointing on it, or it'll say in and out. On this valve, particular valve, they're showing the arrow. So the arrow is always pointing the flow to the valve. So make sure that's important, because if you go put the valve in backwards, the unit's not going to work right. So make sure your arrow is pointing this way, so this is out, and out always comes to the valve. Alright, so that's out. So on this one, like I say, it's going to be mounted. I'm mounting it on the outside on this one. And yeah. And just be careful with your hands. Some of this metal's sharp. Normally I wear a light pair of gloves and I'll get cut up. And the next thing also is, you'll see I'm going to disassemble this valve, because when you heat this valve up, there's some O-rings and some Teflon parts in there that when you're heating that valve up, they'll burn up. So if it's a sweat valve you got, there we go. Right, so this is out, so this is going to be going out, so this way I'll take my copper right out. I'm going to be doing a hole on the back side of the box. And taking the pipes. On this job, the compressor is going to be sitting on the back of the box. Let me just get this valve off. Julio, do we have another bigger adjustable? Here it goes. And when you take this out, just remember how everything went back together. So what I do is I slowly take this out. You'll see the plunger and everything in here. Alright. And there's the pin, but I keep everything together. And there's the O-ring, the Teflon O-ring I was telling you about. You see that white? That's an O-ring. Like I say, you heat this valve up, you'll distort this valve, and then it's not going to work properly. Thank you. So I always keep it all together, and I'll put it off to the side. so it doesn't fall apart. And when I'm all done brazing, then we'll do that. Like I say, I get these pre-made. This one's 3/8, so, and we'll be putting this on here. I'm going to braze a piece of 3/8 copper, come up, and this is out, so here is out, so this is going to come up and in here, and we'll be coming in. This is in, so this is out, so out goes to the valve. So let me get a piece of soft copper right here. Oh, I'm just so I use this hole here because it's got this little protection for the copper, so it doesn't get cut on it. And all this is done in soft copper, refrigeration copper. Just gotta get all the bends right here. Alright, that'll go in like that. And then I'm gonna set it with that. And I just make my bends here very softly without kinking the pipe. That's always an issue. So, you know, they got tubing benders too. So I've been doing this long enough, I can usually get a nice bend on it without kinking it. And I'll make my cut there. Remember, this is out. The arrow's pointing this way through the pipe into the valve. Okay, as I was saying earlier, I just finished brazing everything, and as you can see, I did a 90 here, so when I go to make hang the evaporator and I go make my connections here, everything's going out the back wall. We're going to mount that and drill a hole. We'll show you that later. This thermostat, this is a different style thermostat than the one you have. You have probably a long gray box. This is a different type because, like I said again, this is for a cooler, not a freezer. But when we go to show you how to hook it up, it's the same concept, it's just a different style of control. So, like I said before, that's a different thermostat than the one you're going to have. Here's a solenoid, so I'm going to be putting this back in. Like I said, make sure everything's back in properly. And I'm going to just pop it in and spin it, tighten it. Because this is all cooled down now. I didn't want that to put it back in right away, I waited till everything cooled down. And
notice how we brazed in onto the TXV valve coming out to the solenoid here, and then we made a little trap and came up to the 90, and now these pipes are going to come out the box, out a hole that we're going to drill in, which we will show you later. He's put the TXV valve, or the solenoid valve back in there, and just going to give it a quick tighten down, and then we're going to install the box that goes over top of this.
okay, come shut it off for a minute, Mike. Solenoid on, it snaps on. As you see, I had screwed the fitting in, the solenoid itself body back on. This is the solenoid valve. It's a coil in here. Pop that on. Now on your evaporator, you're going to see you have this black lead that says solenoid harness. So one feeds through to one leg on the solenoid. The other one goes, like I said, this thermostat's a little bit different than yours, but the same concept. One goes to one side of the thermostat. Off the other side of the thermostat, you're going to bring a wire through and connect to this other leg. And then I'll show you on the other end of the evaporator later on how we're going to connect all that up.